Admiral Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, staring at the massive holographic display that floated before him. The message had arrived 3 hours ago, and he had read it at least 20 times. Each time, his hands trembled just a little more. The Galaxy Council wanted to meet humanity. For 200 years, humans had reached for the stars. They built ships that could cross light years in weeks. They settled on distant planets and made them home. They searched the darkness for signs of other life, and now finally that life had found them. "Admiral, the diplomatic team is ready," said Captain Minho, a young officer with sharp eyes and a steady voice. He was nervous too, though he tried to hide it. Jinwoo nodded slowly. "Send them in." The doors opened and Ambassador Yuna entered, followed by Dr. Hana, a woman who had spent her entire life studying alien languages that might exist. Now her dreams were real. Both women looked excited and terrified at the same time. "This is really happening," Yuna whispered, looking at the translated message on the screen. "They're inviting us to join them. 47 alien civilizations, and they want us to be the 48th. Dr. Hana adjusted her glasses, reading the alien text with practiced eyes. The translation is accurate. "They're offering us membership in something called the Galaxy Council. They say they've been watching our progress for decades. They're impressed with our technology and want to welcome us into galactic society." Jinwoo crossed his arms. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't explain what. "What do they want in return?" "They're offering us 30 star systems in what they call the Outer Rim territories," Yuna said, pulling up a star map. "Trade agreements, technology sharing, protection under galactic law." "Admiral, this is everything we've dreamed of. We won't be alone anymore." "What are the conditions?" Jinwoo asked. Yuna hesitated. "There are some navigation protocols we need to follow. Some areas of space are restricted for safety reasons. Standard membership requirements." "Nothing unusual for a new member species." Minho stepped closer to the map. "Those 30 systems are pretty far from the center of Council space." "Why give us territory on the edge?" "Probably because we're new," Dr. Hana suggested. "We have to prove ourselves first." "It makes sense." Jinwoo wasn't convinced, but Earth's government had already made their decision. Humanity would accept the invitation. The vote had been almost unanimous. People were celebrating in the streets of every human world. After centuries of wondering if they were alone, they finally had their answer. 3 weeks later, Ambassador Yuna stood inside Nexus Prime, the massive space station that served as the Council's headquarters. It was the size of Earth's moon and home to millions of beings from dozens of different species. She walked through corridors made of materials she couldn't identify, past creatures she had only imagined in dreams. Some walked on 4 legs, some on 6. Others floated in bubbles of different atmospheres. One species seemed to be made entirely of colored light. A reptilian being approached her. Its scales were deep green and its eyes were vertical slits. "Ambassador Yuna of Earth," it said through a translation device. "I am Council Member Vrax of the Vorash Empire. Welcome to Nexus Prime." "Thank you," Yuna said, trying not to stare. "We're honored to be here." "Your species has achieved much in a short time," Vrax said, leading her through the station. "Faster than light travel, energy weapons, planetary colonization. Very impressive for such a young civilization." They entered a vast chamber where representatives from all 47 species waited. The room fell silent as Yuna entered. She felt the weight of thousands of alien eyes studying her. The ceremony was beautiful. Each species offered a traditional greeting. Yuna responded with humanity's own offering, a golden disc containing images and sounds from Earth. The Council accepted it with what seemed like genuine warmth. When it was time to sign the treaty, Yuna placed her hand on the document. The alien text had been translated into every human language. It spoke of peace, cooperation, and mutual benefit. She signed without hesitation. Back on Earth, millions watched the ceremony on screens. They cheered as humanity officially became the 48th member of the Galaxy Council. Children in schools learned the names of alien species. Scientists prepared to study alien technology. Traders planned new business ventures across the stars. Admiral Jinwoo watched from his ship, still feeling that nagging doubt. He pulled up the treaty documents and began reading through them carefully. Most of it was standard diplomatic language, but certain phrases caught his attention. Navigation, assistance protocols mandatory for all new members. Technology integration required for Council network. Access. Territorial boundaries subject to Council. Oversight. Compliance protocol activation. Reserved for Council security. He didn't like that last one. What was a compliance protocol? He made a note to investigate further. Captain Minho entered his office. The crew is excited, Admiral. They're already talking about visiting alien worlds and making first contact with different species. That's good, Jinwoo said, though his voice lacked enthusiasm. You're worried, Minho observed. I'm cautious, Jinwoo corrected. We've just signed an agreement with civilizations we know nothing about. They could be our greatest allies or our worst mistake. You think they might be hostile? I think they're not telling us everything, Jinwoo said. He turned off the display. But maybe I'm just paranoid. Maybe this really is the beginning of something wonderful. Across human space, colony ships began preparing for journeys to their newly assigned territories. Engineers studied the Council technology that had been sent to them, advanced systems that would make their ships faster and more efficient. Trade delegations prepared to open new markets. Dr. Hana worked with teams of linguists, learning the subtle differences between hundreds of alien languages. She discovered that the Council had existed for 12,000 years, longer than all of human recorded history. They had maintained peace across thousands of star systems. Everything seemed perfect. On Nexus Prime, after the humans had left, Council member Vrax stood with a being made of crystalline structures. The lumini pulsed with soft blue light. Another warrior species contained, Vrax said quietly. The lumini chimed in response, a sound like bells. The pattern holds. They accept our terms without question. Soon they will be manageable. How long before they realize? Vrax asked. It took the Telreth 40 years. The Kyrian lasted 60 before they understood. These humans are clever, but they want to belong. That desire will blind them for a time. Vrax looked at the star map showing human territory, isolated on the galaxy's edge. And if they discover the truth too soon? Then we do what we always do, the Lumini replied. We activate the compliance protocol, and another potential threat becomes another client state. The Council's peace must be maintained. They left the chamber, leaving only darkness and the distant light of stars that humanity believed they were free to explore. On Earth, people celebrated. They had finally joined the galactic community. They had been accepted. They had no idea they had just walked into a cage. 18 months had passed since humanity joined the Galaxy Council, and Captain Minho was beginning to understand Admiral Jinwoo's concerns. He stood in the navigation room of his scout ship, staring at the display with growing frustration. For the third time this month, his vessel had been automatically rerouted by the Council's navigation system. He had programmed a course to explore a nearby star cluster, but the ship's computer kept redirecting him back toward human territory. This doesn't make sense, said Taeyang, the ship's chief engineer. He was young but brilliant, always tinkering with systems to make them work better. We should have full access to open space. That's what the treaty said. Minho pulled up the navigation logs. According to this, the Council's assistance program is redirecting us for our safety. It says there are spatial anomalies in that region. For the past 6 months, there have been spatial anomalies everywhere we try to go. Taeyang muttered. I'm starting to think the only anomaly is this system they installed on our ships. Back on Earth, Commander Sora was having similar suspicions. She worked in military intelligence analyzing trade reports and economic data. The numbers were troubling. Every trade agreement humanity had signed seemed fair on paper, but the results were always disappointing. Human goods were undervalued. Alien products cost more than expected. Transport fees were higher for human ships than for Council vessels. When she brought these concerns to Earth's government, they told her to be patient. These things took time, but Sora knew the difference between patience and exploitation. She shared her findings with Admiral Jinwoo during a secure communication. We're not being treated like equal members, she said. We're being treated like children who need supervision. Jinwoo listened carefully. He had been collecting his own evidence. I've requested permission to send exploration vessels beyond our assigned territory 12 times. Each request has been denied or delayed. They always have a reason, always perfectly logical, but the result is the same. We can't expand. What are they afraid of? Sora asked. That's what we need to find out. On the colony world of New Busan, Governor Nari faced a different problem. Her world needed rare minerals for manufacturing. Minerals that were common throughout the galaxy, But every application to mine in neighboring systems was rejected by the Council's Resource Management Department. They say those areas are reserved for established members, she told her council. We need to wait our turn. How long? Asked one of her advisors. They don't say. Could be years. Could be decades. Her people were growing restless. They had come to the stars to build new lives, not to sit and wait for permission to grow. Meanwhile, Taeyang had made a disturbing discovery. He had been studying the advanced technology the Council had given to human ships. It was impressive, faster and more efficient than anything humans had built. But while examining the quantum drive core, he found something strange, a kill switch. Hidden deep in the code was a command sequence that could shut down the entire drive system remotely. He tested it carefully on an isolated backup drive, and his fears were confirmed. With the right signal, the Council could disable every human ship that used their technology. He immediately reported this to Captain Minho, who took the information straight to Admiral Jinwoo. They can turn off our ships? Jinwoo asked, his voice dangerously quiet. All the ships using Council technology, Taeyang confirmed, which is almost our entire fleet. And that's not all. There are monitoring systems embedded in the communication arrays. Everything we transmit through Council networks is being recorded. Jinwoo felt ice in his stomach. They're watching us. They're controlling us, Minho corrected. Dr. Hana had been working on her own project, translating old Council records that had been made available to new members. Most of it was boring historical data, but she was thorough. She read everything. That's when she found the pattern. Late one night, she contacted Admiral Jinwoo with urgent news. I need to show you something, she said, her voice shaking. In his office, she displayed her research. I've been reading about previous species that joined the Council. There have been dozens over the centuries, but I started noticing something strange. 17 species that joined are described as warrior species or militarily advanced civilizations. Like us, Jinwoo said, exactly like us. And all of them were given territory in the Outer Rim. All of them had similar treaties. All of them. She paused, choosing her words carefully. All of them declined. Declined? Their civilizations weakened over time. Their military power faded. Their populations shrank. Within a few generations, they became dependent on the Council for everything. They're still members, but they're not equals. They're more like servants. Jinwoo felt anger building in his chest. Show me their territories. Hana pulled up a galactic map. The 17 species were highlighted in red, scattered across the Outer Rim like isolated islands. Each one was surrounded by Council territory, cut off from resources and major trade routes. We're being contained, Jinwoo said slowly. They invited us to join not as equals but as a threat to be neutralized. I think so, Hana agreed. But I can't prove it. These records just show what happened, not why. I'll get you proof, Jinwoo promised. He called together his most trusted officers, Minho, Sora, Taeyang, and Hana. Together, they began to investigate. Sora hacked into Council databases, carefully covering her tracks. What she found confirmed their worst fears. There were secret files on every member species, detailed psychological profiles and strategic assessments. The file on humanity was marked with a red priority flag. High military potential, she read aloud. Rapid technological advancement. Aggressive expansion tendencies. Recommendation is containment through integration protocols. Monitor closely for signs of resistance. They were never going to let us be equals, Minho said bitterly. Taeyang discovered more hidden systems in Council technology, not just kill switches, but also data collectors that tracked every human ship movement, every weapon system, every technological advancement. Everything humans invented was being recorded and copied by the Council. They're stealing from us, he said. Every innovation we make, they take it. The final piece came when 3 human science vessels disappeared near the edge of their territory. They had been exploring an unmarked system when their signals went dark. Search and rescue teams found nothing, but Sora found a classified Council report. The ships had crossed into a forbidden zone and been destroyed automatically by Council defense platforms. No warning had been given. The report recommended against informing humanity to avoid unnecessary complications. Ambassador Yuna, still on Nexus Prime, was called back to Earth for an emergency meeting. When she heard everything, she felt sick. I signed that treaty. I brought us into this. You didn't know, Jinwoo said gently. None of us did. They're very good at deception. What do we do now? Yuna asked. Jinwoo looked at his team, at these people who had uncovered the truth. We confront them. We demand answers. Yuna returned to Nexus Prime and requested an emergency meeting with the council. They made her wait for 3 days, a calculated insult. When she finally stood before them, she laid out everything humanity had discovered. You've been lying to us, she said, her voice steady despite her anger. You never intended to treat us as equals. Council member Vrax responded with practiced calm. You misunderstand our intentions, Ambassador. The protocols exist for the safety of all members. Then remove the kill switches from our ships. That is not possible. They are integral to the navigation systems. Then we'll remove them ourselves. Vrax's eyes narrowed. That would be a violation of your membership agreement. So we're prisoners? Yuna demanded. You are protected, Vrax corrected. There are dangers in the galaxy that young species cannot comprehend. We have maintained peace for 12,000 years. That requires certain measures. Yuna realized she wasn't going to get anywhere. These beings had done this before, probably dozens of times. They had refined their control into an art form. She returned to Earth and reported everything to the government and to Admiral Jinwoo. Within days, the Council responded. They issued new requirements, calling them Enhanced Integration Protocols. Human ships would need Council observers aboard. Human military operations would require Council approval. Human territory would be subject to regular inspections. It was exactly what Sora had found in the secret files. The containment was becoming tighter. Then came the ultimatum. Delivered directly to Earth's government, the message was clear. Accept the enhanced protocols within 30 days or humanity would be expelled from Council protection. What does that mean? Asked Earth President Admiral Jinwoo explained. It means any species can attack us and the Council won't intervene. We'll be fair game. They're forcing us to choose between slavery and war, Minho said. Jinwoo looked at the countdown timer on his display. 30 days to decide humanity's future. Then we need to prepare for war, he said quietly. The war room aboard the Indomitable had never been so crowded. Every military commander, every civilian leader, every scientist who mattered was present, either in person or through holographic projection. They had 24 hours left before the Council's ultimatum expired. Admiral Jinwoo stood at the center, looking older than his years. The weight of humanity's future rested on the decision they would make today. Let's review our options one more time, he said. General Daewon spoke first. He commanded Earth's ground forces, a man who had spent 40 years preparing for wars that never came. Now one was coming whether they wanted it or not. If we accept their terms, we lose our independence. Our military becomes theirs to command. Our people become theirs to control. In 2 generations, maybe 3, we'll be like those other species, weak, dependent, forgotten. If we refuse, we face war with 47 advanced civilizations, said Earth's president. We have 200 ships. They have thousands. We have 12 colony worlds. They have thousands. The numbers are impossible. Commander Sora pulled up tactical displays. I've been analyzing Council military capabilities. They're powerful, but they haven't fought a real war in thousands of years. Their tactics are old, predictable. They rely on overwhelming force rather than strategy. That works when you have overwhelming force, Minho pointed out. True, Sora admitted, but there's something else. I've been studying those 17 contained species. Several of them tried to resist early on. The Council crushed them easily. But you know why? Those species were using Council technology when they fought. Technology with kill switches and limitations built in. Taeyang nodded eagerly. That's what I've been trying to explain. Every system they gave us is compromised. Our ships are faster with their drives, but they control them. Our weapons are more powerful, but they can shut them down. As long as we use their technology, we can't win. So we remove it, Dr. Hana said. We go back to pure human systems. That sets us back years, protested one of the civilian leaders. Our old technology is inferior. But it's ours, Jinwoo said quietly. He had been thinking about this for days. They can't control what they didn't build. A message alert interrupted them. Intelligence Officer Kiwan appeared on the display, broadcasting from a hidden location inside Council space. He had been undercover for weeks, digging deeper into Council secrets. Admiral, I found something. Kiwan said, his voice tight with urgency. The enhanced integration protocols, they're not just about control. I accessed the actual code. It's a backdoor into every human system. Military, civilian, everything. If we accept, they won't just observe us. They'll own us. They can control our weapons, our defenses, even our planetary infrastructure. They're planning an occupation, Minho breathed. It's worse, Kiwan continued. I found records of what they did to the other species. They didn't just contain them. After each species was weakened enough, the Council stripped their best technology, copied their innovations, then left them with barely enough to survive. They've been doing this for thousands of years. Every new species that showed promise was harvested. The room fell silent. The full horror of the Council's plan was now clear. We were never members, Ambassador Yuna said, her voice hollow. We were crops to be harvested. Admiral Jinwu looked around the room at humanity's leaders. He saw fear, anger, and determination in their faces. These were people who had crossed the stars, who had built new worlds with their bare hands, who had never stopped reaching for something better. They made a mistake, he said. Everyone looked at him. They assumed we would be like the others, that we would accept their control because fighting seemed impossible. They've been doing this for so long that they forgot something important. He stood straighter. Humans don't give up. We've faced extinction before on our own planet and we survived. We've fought wars that should have destroyed us and we emerged stronger. That's what makes us different. Admiral, the President said carefully, are you suggesting we fight? I'm suggesting we refuse to be cattle, Jinwu replied. Yes, their numbers are greater. Yes, their technology is advanced. But they're overconfident. They think this will be easy. They think we'll break like the others did. Won't we? Someone asked. Jinwu smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. Let me tell you what I learned about humanity during my 40 years of service. We are at our most dangerous when we're cornered. We are at our most creative when we're desperate. And we are at our most united when someone tries to take our freedom. He looked at each person in turn. They want a war? We'll give them one they never expected. What are you proposing? General Daewon asked. Protocol Prometheus, Jinwu said. It's something I've been developing in secret with Taiyang and his team. A complete conversion of our fleet to pure human technology. We strip out every council system, every compromised component. We go back to what we know, what we built ourselves. That will take months, protested a fleet commander. Taiyang, how long would it really take? Jinwu asked. The engineer stepped forward. If we mobilize every shipyard, every engineering team, every technician we have working around the clock, 72 hours for the first wave of ships, a week for the full fleet. People began arguing, saying it was impossible, saying it was suicide. Jinwu raised his hand for silence. I'm not asking anyone to follow me blindly. I'm telling you what I believe. We can accept their terms and slowly die as a species. Or we can fight with everything we have and maybe, just maybe, survive. But if we fight as humans, not as their puppets. Dr. Jisoo, the physicist, spoke up. She had been quiet until now. But everyone knew about her experimental weapons program. I have systems the Council has never seen. Weapons that don't follow their protocols or safety limitations. They're dangerous and unpredictable, but they're human. How dangerous? The President asked. One of them could destabilize a star, Jisoo said calmly. Turn it into a time-delayed supernova. The room went very quiet. You're talking about genocide, someone whispered. I'm talking about deterrence, Jisoo corrected. If they know we're willing to destroy their systems the same way they plan to destroy us, they'll think twice. Admiral Jinwu looked at the countdown timer. 23 hours remaining. I need a decision from Earth's government, he said. Do we submit or do we fight? The President looked at her advisors, at the military commanders, at the faces of people who had put their trust in her leadership. If we fight and lose, humanity could be destroyed completely. If we submit, humanity will be destroyed slowly, Jinwu replied. At least if we fight, we die free. After an hour of debate, the vote was called. It was close, but the result was clear. Humanity would refuse the Council's ultimatum. Admiral Jinwu immediately issued orders. Every human ship was to return to the nearest shipyard immediately. All personnel were recalled from Council space. Ambassador Yuna and her team evacuated Nexus Prime within hours. Then came the moment that would be remembered for generations, standing before a broadcast that would reach every human in the galaxy. Admiral Jinwu gave the order that changed everything. This is Admiral Jinwu of the United Earth Defense Fleet. To all human vessels, all colonies, all citizens of humanity. Effective immediately, I am issuing the following command. He paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. Disengage all council systems. Revert to pure human technology. Activate Protocol Prometheus. We fight as we are, not as they made us. Across human space, the response was immediate. Engineers began ripping out council technology. Taeyang's teams worked frantically, replacing advanced systems with older but reliable human designs. Ships that had been sleek and fast became rougher, tougher, more brutal. General Daewon mobilized every colony into a defensive network. If they want to take our worlds, they'll have to fight for every inch. Commander Sora activated ghost protocols, sending stealth ships deep into Council territory to gather intelligence and prepare for guerrilla operations. Captain Minho took command of the first strike group, 20 ships that had completed the conversion. They were slower now, less elegant, but they were free. Dr. Jisoo armed them with weapons that made the Council's safety-conscious minds recoil in horror. Relativistic missiles that could punch through shields, gravity bombs that could tear ships apart, kinetic kill vehicles that were just massive chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds. The Council had fought wars with precision and rules. Humanity was about to remind the galaxy what war really meant. When the ultimatum expired, the Council sent an enforcement fleet toward Earth. 800 ships, massive and powerful, expecting easy victory. Admiral Jinwoo watched them come on his displays. The fleet was still days away, but he could see their formation, their tactics. Everything was by the book, predictable, safe. He opened a channel to all human forces. They're coming, he said simply. They expect us to surrender or run. They think we're beaten. Show them what humans do when someone tries to cage us. Ambassador Yuna, now back on Earth, broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Every species would hear it. To the Galaxy Council and all who follow them. You wanted us contained because you feared what we could become. You tried to steal our future, our freedom, our very identity. Now you will learn what we are. We are humans. We bow to no one. We accept no. The Council's enforcement fleet arrived at Neptune expecting to find humans cowering or fleeing. Instead, they found Captain Minho waiting with 40 human warships arranged in a seemingly chaotic pattern around the ice giant's orbit. Council Commander Vrax, leading from his flagship, opened communication channels. Human vessels, you are in violation of galactic law. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction. Minho's response was simple. Come and try. Vrax didn't understand at first. These humans had inferior technology now. Older ships that shouldn't stand a chance against Council forces. He ordered his fleet forward in standard attack formation. 800 ships moving with perfect coordination. That's when the chaos started. Human ships didn't move like Council vessels. They didn't follow predictable patterns or maintain safe distances. Taeyang's modifications allowed them to make micro-jumps during combat, appearing and disappearing in ways that violated every Council safety protocol. One moment a human ship was 1,000 kilometers away. The next it materialized right beside a Council vessel and unleashed weapons at point-blank range. Kinetic round, simple pieces of metal moving at incredible speeds punched through shields designed to stop energy weapons. They're savages, Vrax shouted as his beautiful formation fell apart. They're fighting like animals. That was exactly the point. The Council had forgotten what real war looked like. For thousands of years, they had fought with rules, with honor, with restraint. Humans had no such limitations. Minho's ships dove into asteroid fields using the rocks as cover and weapons. They accelerated chunks of ice and stone to lethal velocities and sent them crashing into Council ships. They used the chaos of the battle to mask their movements, striking from unexpected angles. And when Council ships tried to retreat, human vessels pursued with terrifying aggression. No mercy, no hesitation. Admiral Jinwoo watched the battle from Earth, coordinating the defense of humanity's home system. They're learning, he said to his staff. The Council commanders are adapting. We need to keep surprising them. General Daewon was already implementing the next phase. On Neptune's moon, Triton, concealed weapons platforms activated. These weren't sophisticated systems, just massive railguns built into the moon's surface. They fired solid projectiles at speeds that made them nearly impossible to intercept. 3 Council ships exploded before Vrax even realized the moon was armed. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it finally ended, the Council had lost 90 ships. Humanity had lost 12. The survivors of Vrax's fleet retreated, shocked and demoralized. But Minho knew this was just the beginning. They'll come back with more ships and new tactics. We bought ourselves time, nothing more. Across human space, the war expanded rapidly. The Council committed 6 major species to the conflict, bringing their full military might to bear. They expected to crush humanity within weeks. Instead, they found themselves fighting a guerrilla war on a galactic scale. Commander Sora's Ghost Division operated deep behind enemy lines. Her ships were small, fast, and crewed by volunteers who knew they might not return. They struck at supply convoys, destroyed communications relays, and mined shipping lanes. The Council tried to hunt them down, but Sora kept moving. She used the vastness of space itself as a weapon, appearing at random targets and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. They can't protect everything, she told her crews. We make them afraid of every shadow, every empty system. We make them waste resources guarding places we'll never attack. On the colony world of New Busan, Governor Nari faced a different battle. A Council ground invasion force landed with 5,000 troops. Expecting to seize the planet quickly and use it as leverage against Earth, they found a population that refused to surrender. Nari had armed every citizen who could hold a weapon. She had turned the cities into fortresses and the countryside into a maze of traps and ambush points. The Council troops, trained for precision operations, found themselves fighting street to street against an enemy that knew every building and back alley. They're not soldiers, the Council commander complained as his forces took heavy casualties. No, Nari responded over open channels. We're people defending our homes. There's a difference. The battle for New Busan lasted 3 months. The Council never managed to secure the planet and eventually withdrew, having lost thousands of troops to guerrilla warfare. Meanwhile, Taeyang and his engineering teams were constantly innovating. Every battle taught them something new about Council technology. They learned to jam Council communications, spoof their sensors, and exploit weaknesses in their shields. Their systems are too sophisticated, Taeyang explained to Admiral Jinwoo. Everything is networked, everything talks to everything else. That makes them efficient, but it also makes them vulnerable. We can't match their technology, so we make it work against them. He developed electronic warfare systems that turned Council ships' own sensors into weapons, feeding them false data until they couldn't tell friend from enemy. He created viruses that spread through Council networks, subtle enough to avoid detection, but disruptive enough to cause confusion at critical moments. Dr. Jisu's weapons program produced nightmares. She had no interest in elegant solutions or minimal collateral damage. Her weapons were designed for maximum destruction. The sundial device was her masterpiece, a small probe that could be inserted into a star's core. It would slowly destabilize the fusion process. Months or years later, the star would go supernova. It was a delayed destruction that couldn't be stopped once started. You understand what this means? Admiral Jinwoo asked when she showed him the plans. This is a weapon that destroys entire solar systems. Yes, Jisu said calmly.
And the Council needs to know we have it.
Fear can be as powerful as ships. Jinwoo authorized the deployment of 3 sundial devices in uninhabited systems near Council space. He then broadcast the locations and activation codes to the Council leadership. Those stars will explode in 6 months, he told them. You have that long to negotiate peace. If you don't, we'll deploy more. We'll turn every system you value into a ticking time bomb. You wanted to control us through fear? Now you'll understand what real fear means. The Council's response was to escalate the war even further. They committed more ships, more troops, more resources. But the tide was turning. 3 Council species petitioned for peace after losing their entire military fleets to human ambushes. They had joined the conflict expecting an easy victory and instead found themselves facing an enemy that fought with creativity and desperation in equal measure. We cannot win this war, the Lumini representative said in a secret council meeting. These humans fight like we haven't seen in millennia. They don't care about honor or rules. They only care about survival. Then we exterminate them, Vrax insisted. We gather every ship, every weapon, and we destroy them completely. No mercy, no negotiations. But other voices were beginning to question this approach. Ambassador Yuna had been secretly communicating with dissident council members. species who were uncomfortable with the war and suspicious of the Council's true motives. Why were we never told about the other contained species? One ambassador asked. Why is this information hidden? Dr. Hana had provided Yuna with all her research, evidence of 12,000 years of Council manipulation and control. Now that evidence was spreading through Council space, causing doubt and division. The Council itself began to fracture. The Varash and their allies wanted total war, complete annihilation of humanity. The Lumini and others advocated for negotiation. Neutral species started questioning whether the Council's actions were just. 6 months into the war, humanity had lost 40 ships and control of 3 colony worlds. The Council had lost over 400 ships and suffered defeats that shook their confidence. Admiral Jinwu stood before a holographic display showing the entire theater of war. Red markers showed Council forces, blue showed human positions. The map was a chaotic mess of skirmishes, ambushes, and desperate battles. We're hurting them, General Daewon said. But we can't sustain this forever. Our resources are limited. So are theirs, Jinwu replied. They're fighting on multiple fronts now, dealing with internal dissent, trying to maintain control over their entire territory while fighting us. Time is on our side if we can hold out. Captain Minho's strike groups had grown bolder. They no longer just defended human space, they attacked Council territory. Quick raids on shipyards, hit-and-run strikes on industrial worlds. Anything to disrupt the Council's ability to wage war. They never expected this, Minho said after a successful raid on a Council supply depot. They thought we'd fight like them, with formations and rules and predictable tactics. Instead, we fight like pirates. We fight like survivors, Jinwu corrected. Intelligence Officer Kiwan, still operating in enemy territory, sent a critical message. The Council is planning a massive offensive. They're gathering their remaining forces for one final push. They're going to try to take Earth itself. If they succeed, they think humanity will surrender. Admiral Jinwu called an emergency meeting. Every leader, every commander joined the conference. They're coming for Earth, he told them. This will be the decisive battle. If we win, we might force them to negotiate. If we lose, humanity ends. The Council's armada appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a steel storm. Over 1,000 ships representing the combined might of civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for 12 millennia. They came expecting to see humanity broken and desperate. Instead, they found a welcome party. Admiral Jinwu had turned the entire solar system into a fortress. Every moon had been armed. Every asteroid had been turned into a missile. The space between planets was filled with mines, debris fields, and hidden weapons platforms. Earth itself was surrounded by 200 human warships and 500 civilian vessels armed with whatever weapons could be mounted. This is Council Commander Vrax, came the transmission. Surrender now and your species will be allowed to exist as servants. Resist and we will exterminate you completely. Jinwu's response was broadcast not just to the Council fleet, but to every species in the galaxy. You came to cage us. You came to break us. You came to take our freedom and our future. But you forgot something important. Humans don't surrender. Come and learn why that was your last mistake. The battle began. The Council fleet advanced in their traditional formation, shields at maximum, weapons charged. They had overwhelming numbers and superior technology. By every calculation, they should have won easily. But humans had stopped playing by the rules. Taeyang's modified ships made impossible maneuvers, jumping in and out of the battle like ghosts. They appeared inside the Council formation, fired at point-blank range and vanished before return fire could reach them. The Council's sophisticated targeting systems couldn't track enemies that didn't follow logical movement patterns. General Daewon activated Earth's lunar defenses. Massive railguns built into the moon's surface launched projectiles at incredible speeds. These weren't sophisticated weapons, just chunks of metal moving so fast they carried the energy of nuclear bombs. Shields designed to stop energy weapons crumpled under the kinetic impact. Dr. Jisu's experimental weapons turned the battle into chaos. Gravity bombs created spatial distortions that pulled Council ships together, causing them to collide with each other. Relativistic missiles moved too fast to intercept, punching through multiple vessels before their momentum was spent. But the most devastating weapon was human desperation. Civilian ships crewed by volunteers flew directly at Council vessels and detonated themselves. The Council had never seen such tactics, couldn't comprehend an enemy willing to sacrifice everything. They're insane, Frex screamed as his formation collapsed into chaos. "They're destroying themselves just to hurt us." Captain Minho led the strike groups in brutal close-quarters combat. Human ships weren't faster or stronger than Council vessels, but they fought with an aggression that terrified their opponents. They rammed enemy ships, used their hulls as weapons, fired until their guns melted. Commander Sora's Ghost Division appeared throughout the battle, striking at command ships and disrupting communications. The Council's perfect coordination fell apart as admirals lost contact with their fleets. The battle raged for 18 hours. Space around Earth became a graveyard of burning ships and twisted metal. The Council lost 300 vessels. Humanity lost 70 ships and countless civilian craft. But the tide was turning. Council ships began to retreat, unable to maintain formation under the human assault. Then something unexpected happened. A fleet of alien ships emerged from faster-than-light travel, but they weren't Council reinforcements. They were the Talreth, one of the 17 contained species, and they had come to fight alongside humanity. "We heard your message," their commander broadcast. "We thought we were alone in our suffering. You showed us we were wrong. You showed us resistance is possible. We stand with you." Within hours, more contained species arrived. The Kyrian, the Ashkari, species that the Council had crushed and forgotten. They had been watching humanity's war, seeing their own history repeated, and they had decided to fight. Admiral Jinwu welcomed them with a simple message. "Fight for your own freedom. We're not asking you to die for us. We're asking you to live free with us." The Council's armada found itself facing not just humans, but a coalition of every species they had ever wronged. The battle became a rout. Council member Vrax, his flagship damaged and his fleet shattered, sent a desperate transmission. "This is illegal. You're violating every law of galactic civilization." Ambassador Yuna responded from Earth. "You have no authority to speak of law. You created laws to control others while breaking them yourselves. That ends today." The Council fleet retreated, leaving behind hundreds of destroyed ships and thousands of dead. It was the greatest military defeat in their 12,000-year history. But the war wasn't over. Intelligence Officer Kiwan had been busy during the battle. While the Council focused on Earth, he infiltrated their data networks and downloaded everything. Every secret file, every hidden crime, every manipulation they had committed over millennia. "Admiral, you need to see this," he said, broadcasting his findings to all human forces and their new allies. The Council didn't just contain warrior species. They committed genocide against civilizations that refused to submit. They destroyed entire planets to maintain control, and they've been planning humanity's destruction since the day we joined. The evidence was overwhelming and damning. When it was broadcast to the entire galaxy, even Council loyalists couldn't deny the truth. The Council itself began to collapse. Member species that had trusted them felt betrayed. Internal conflicts erupted as different factions blamed each other. The Lumini announced they were withdrawing from the Council. Other species followed. Within months, the Council's authority had crumbled. Their fleets were scattered. Their leadership was in chaos. Admiral Jinwu stood before the united forces of humanity and their allies. "We have a choice to make," he said. "We can take revenge for what was done to us. We can become the new Council, ruling through fear and force, or we can build something better." Captain Minho led a joint human and Talreth fleet to Nexus Prime. The station was defended by only a handful of ships, the last loyal forces of the Varash and their hardline allies. The battle was brief and decisive. When Minho's troops boarded the station, they found Council leadership hiding in their chambers. Frax was among them, still defiant even in defeat. "You're no better than us," he hissed. "You'll become conquerors just like we were." "No," Minho said quietly. "We'll become something you never understood. We'll become free people living with other free people." The Council leadership was taken into custody. Ambassador Yuna proposed an unprecedented trial, to be held before representatives of every galactic civilization. The charges were crimes against sentient species, systematic oppression, genocide, and manipulation of galactic society. Dr. Hana presented 12,000 years of evidence. The galaxy watched as the Council's crimes were exposed in detail. Even their own member species were shocked by the extent of the betrayal. The trial lasted 6 months. At its conclusion, the verdict was unanimous. The Galaxy Council as an institution was dissolved. Its leadership was sentenced to exile on a remote world, stripped of all power and technology. But the galaxy needed something to replace the Council. Without central authority, there would be chaos. Admiral Jinwoo proposed a new system. Not a council that rules, but a commonwealth that serves. Every species has equal voice regardless of power or age. No species can be restricted or contained. Technology and knowledge are shared freely. Military power is distributed so no one civilization can dominate. And most importantly, freedom is protected above all else. The Galactic Commonwealth was born from the ashes of the Council's tyranny. Ambassador Yuna became the first Commonwealth Chancellor, chosen by vote of all member species. Her first act was to dismantle all restriction protocols and open the entire galaxy to exploration and trade. Captain Minho took command of the Commonwealth Defense Fleet, a voluntary force dedicated to protecting freedom rather than enforcing control. Ships from dozens of species served together, learning from each other and building trust. Dr. Hana established the Institute of Galactic History, a place where the truth would be preserved and taught. "We must remember what happened," she said, "so it never happens again." Taiyang led the technical exchange, helping species share their innovations and rebuild their civilizations. The galaxy entered a new age of cooperation and advancement. General Daewon oversaw the peacekeeping corps, ensuring that disputes between species were resolved fairly and without violence. Commander Sora became Director of Commonwealth Intelligence, using her skills to prevent threats before they could grow, but always with oversight and accountability. Dr. Jisoo destroyed most of her weapons, keeping only defensive systems. "I built these out of desperation," she said. "In a free galaxy, we won't need them." Governor Nari helped rebuild worlds devastated by the war, teaching others how to create strong communities based on cooperation rather than control. Officer Kiwan became guardian of the Commonwealth archives, ensuring transparency and preventing the kind of secret manipulation the Council had practiced. 5 years after the war's end, the galaxy was transformed. Former enemies traded freely. Species that had been isolated for centuries rejoined galactic civilization as equals. New civilizations were welcomed without conditions or restrictions.